This is Jeff Burns of Freelance Art Journey. You can check out my work at jeffburnsart.com. Hi, it's been a while, and so I wanted to start off this new year with a bang. As you can read by the title of this video, I want to share a secret with you.
A secret?
This is something that I've kind of been holding on to for myself over the past few months, maybe even a year or more. Really ever since that I realized that this thing works. You ever discover something
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison?
that was so good you wanted to keep it to yourself? You didn't want anybody else to know about it? But deep down, you knew that this could benefit other people. And that's kind of the situation that I find myself in. And I find that it would be a real shame and a crime to hold this information back. And it's nothing earth-shattering. It's a simple thing. Basically, it is the idea of forming partnerships and collaboration with other creatives. Now, I've shared this partially in a past video about networking, and you can find a link to that video down in the description below. But I wanted to take a deeper dive into the idea of networking, forming partnerships. I really want to put more emphasis on the importance of it. It is something that has really made my freelance journey a whole lot more successful. And, I want to take a step back before I get ahead of myself. And I want to say that as artists, I think that we have gotten to a place where we look for things that flow naturally and easily. And for instance, when you think about just the creative process in itself, we chase after getting into that flow state. That the zone, we call it, getting in the zone, that creative zone where it feels euphoric. It's almost like we get this shot of dopamine or something, and we're just flowing through the work. It's coming out naturally. Before we know it, 8 hours has passed, and we're sitting there in front of this masterpiece, and we're like, wow, that was so much fun. And now, that's happened to me enough. I've been doing this for a number of years, so it's happened a few times here and there. And you want that all the time. You want every piece to flow like that, but it doesn't. And so when the tough times come, we feel defeated. We feel like we have this imposter syndrome. I'm using air quotes. And we start to question ourselves. What's wrong? And so I think that whole thing, whatever you want to call it, it puts us in this state of avoiding the difficult and hard things and looking for what flows naturally and easy, what comes easy to us. We don't want to grind through anything. If there's too much of a grind, then there's something wrong and we're failing, and nobody wants to be a failure. It's like there's no return from that, when that couldn't be any further from the truth. Failure is a natural part of life. I tell my son this all the time, that failures come, and it's our attitude towards failure that is, and managing that attitude that's what life is really all about. Connected to that is the fact that we don't want to do the hard parts of what it takes to run a successful freelance business. and you are in business for yourself. We want to do the fun stuff. We want to design characters, sexy girls and muscular guys with cybernetic arms and swords and dragons and that kind of thing. We don't want to have to email 10 prospective clients or art directors or whatever. That's the boring stuff. We don't want to practice rendering wrinkles in clothing. Those are the things we want to avoid. We want to do the fan art. That's cool. That's fun. And so another part of that is networking and collaborating with other people. You know, why there's an issue with that, in that you're introducing something foreign to your process and you don't know what the outcome will be. That's scary. And it makes sense. But looking back, the positives can far outweigh the negatives that we build up in our heads. And a lot of times we're in our head and we come up with the conclusion to a situation before we even give it a chance. We have this negative outlook. Oh, if I get involved with this situation, then this is going to happen and it's going to be all bad. I thought that I would share my unique situation and help shed light on it and show you that it's not a bad thing. And so a few years back, I felt like I needed to up my LinkedIn game. You know, it's a platform that I had just been sitting on for a while. I had like 20 connections and wasn't really doing much with it. And I stumbled across a tutorial on, you know, how to navigate LinkedIn and benefit from it. And part of what it advised you to do was to build your following, build up your connections, network with people, talk to them. You know, and immediately I was kind of like, ugh, you know, I don't want to deal with people. But how silly is that? Because that's where the work comes from, other people. You can't create in a vacuum and have money just magically appear. Or at least not without setting things up first, right? Because I mean, nowadays, yeah, you can kind of sit in your underwear in your bedroom and have money pop up in your PayPal or bank account or whatever. But you had to do something to establish that first.
Let's get your head out of the gutter.
So, you know, I went onto my LinkedIn account and I started putting requests out there to connect. And slowly, people started to respond. And I started to build it up. And now, I didn't just put requests out there to build up my following so that it looks padded and then move on to the next person and the next person. I actually went into those connections, those new established connections, and I said hi. I introduced myself. I asked if there was any way I could be of service to them. And I meant that. Now, some people, they brushed me off. But others actually reciprocated. We started conversations. We started relationships. And before I knew it, I grew my following from 20 people to over 700 at that time. And now, among those new connections that I made was this young whippersnapper of a children's book illustrator. And he reached out and he genuinely just wanted to talk about book creation and that kind of thing. And so we started to connect and we formed a friendship. And so we'd bounce ideas off of each other, talk shop, share resources. And then one day he said that he had done a children's book and he needed help with the page layout. It was something that he didn't really like doing, and he needed someone to help him with that. That happened to be my strong suit. That was something that I was really good at. I'd done several books before, and so I was happy to help him with that. And so in the end, he got paid and I got paid. It was a great situation that worked out. And so, we kind of scratched our heads and said, hey, we've got something here. So he would bring clients that needed books laid out. I would do the layout. He would do the illustration. If I came across clients that needed watercolor illustrations, I'd recommend him. And we did right by each other. And so after a while, we started to bring on others. And we rounded out our team with writers, proofreaders, and we put all of that under the umbrella of a company called Stories Untold. And so I'm saying all of that to tell you that networking really does work. Collaborations work. Some of my best projects over the past few years have come out of Stories Untold and out of that original partnership. And so I would urge you to get out of your head, stop worrying about what might happen, and take a chance, because at the end of the day, there really is strength in numbers. That's something that I have learned and continue to learn every day. And so get over your Lone Ranger mentality and whatever phobias you may have, and reach out to people and genuinely ask if they need help with something. You will be surprised how many projects come about just by being helpful. I'm not going to share dollar amounts, but a large bulk of my income comes from doing collaborative work with other creatives. So I hope you take that to heart. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and I'll share what I can. Thanks for listening. God bless. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next broadcast.